The Lincoln 1-cent coin of 1964 belongs to one of the most important and dramatic years in American coinage history, because this small copper coin reflects fear, economic pressure, political change, and the daily life of millions of Americans during a time of national transition. The design itself carried the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and by 1964, the Lincoln cent had already become a symbol of stability and trust for the American people. The obverse shows Lincoln facing right with the words, "In God, we trust liberty," and the date, 1964, while the reverse still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959, showing the famous Washington Monument with Lincoln's seated statue visible at the center, a unique feature that made the Lincoln cent the first U.S. coin to show the same person on both sides. The year 1964 was special because the United States was experiencing a major coin shortage driven by rising silver prices, panic hoarding, and economic uncertainty. Many Americans believed coins would disappear from circulation, so they began saving them in jars, drawers, and banks. Although the Lincoln cent contained no silver, the public hoarded all denominations, including pennies, as fear spread that metal values might soon exceed face value. Copper prices were rising, and the cost to produce cents was becoming a concern for the U.S. Mint. In response, the government took extraordinary action and ordered massive production of coins to flood the economy and restore confidence. This led to 1964 becoming the highest mintage year in Lincoln cent history, with billions of coins struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Philadelphia cents carried no mint mark, while Denver cents displayed a small D beneath the date. Both versions were composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams, a composition that would soon change in later decades due to rising costs. The enormous production numbers meant the 1964 Lincoln cent was extremely common in circulation, and nearly every American handled one, whether buying groceries, paying bus fare, or receiving change at a local store. Yet despite its common nature, the coin tells a powerful story of America during the early 1960s, a time marked by the presidency of Lyndon B. Johnson, the passing of the Civil Rights Act, the aftermath of President John F. Kennedy's assassination, and the ongoing Cold War. While astronauts were preparing for space missions and televisions were becoming common in households, these humble pennies quietly moved from hand to hand, representing the everyday economy. The U.S. Mint worked around the clock to strike cents, sometimes pushing equipment to its limits. Quality control suffered slightly, which is why collectors today find many 1964 cents with weak strikes, contact marks, or uneven details, yet this also created opportunities for errors such as doubled dies off center strikes, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks, which can be valuable today if authenticated collectors also pay attention to proof versions struck in Philadelphia, specifically for collectors with sharp details, mirrored fields, and frosted devices. These proof coins were never meant for circulation and were sold in mint sets to hobbyists. The Lincoln Memorial reverse itself carried symbolic meaning, showing the monument built to honor Lincoln as a savior of the Union and a champion of freedom during a time when civil rights struggles were reshaping the nation. The imagery felt especially relevant. The 1964 Lincoln cent may not be rare in normal circulated condition, but its historical weight is immense. It represents the last full year before major changes in U.S. coinage composition and design policy, and it stands as a reminder of how even the smallest denomination can reflect fear, hope, resilience, and national identity today. Millions of these coins still exist, tucked away in old collections, coffee cans, and inherited jars, often overlooked, yet they are tangible artifacts of mid-20th century America when a penny still had purchasing power and carried the image of a president whose legacy continued to guide the nation, and for collectors, historians, and everyday people alike. The 1964 Lincoln 1-cent coin remains a silent witness to a year when America minted confidence by the billions and trusted that even in uncertain times, the smallest coin could help keep the economy moving. As 1964 progressed, the Lincoln 1 cent became more than loose change because it played a psychological role in calming a nervous nation. Banks were running low on coins. Vending machines struggled to operate, and newspapers reported daily on the so-called coin crisis. Although pennies were not made of silver, people still believed that all coins would soon vanish from circulation. This fear pushed the U.S. Mint into emergency mode, and production facilities in Philadelphia and Denver operated non-stop, striking cents day and night. Workers rotated shifts, machines overheated, dies wore out quickly, and quality variations became common. Yet the government believed flooding the market with coins was the only way to restore trust. This is why the 1964 Lincoln cent exists today in astonishing numbers, making it one of the most widely produced coins in American history, and also one of the most historically important despite its low face value during this time. Children filled penny albums, adults saved rolls in drawers, and small businesses depended on cents to give exact change because prices were still low compared to modern standards. A loaf of bread, a gallon of gas, or a newspaper often required pennies to complete a transaction, and the Lincoln cent remained essential to everyday commerce. The copper color of the coin gave it a warm, familiar look, and its solid weight made it feel valuable in the hand, unlike modern lighter cents. Many Americans of the era associated pennies with savings, habits, piggy banks, and childhood lessons about money and responsibility. The year 1964 also marked a turning point behind the scenes because the U.S. Treasury was already studying alternatives to traditional metal compositions. Rising copper prices meant the government was losing money producing cents. And although the change would not happen immediately, this year helped push future decisions that eventually led to copper-plated zinc pennies in the 1980s, making the 1964 cent part of the final chapter of classic solid copper Lincoln cents for collectors. Today, this adds emotional and historical appeal, especially for those who view it as a relic of a stronger, heavier era of American coinage. Numismatists also examine 1964 cents closely for varieties, including subtle doubled lettering on "In God We Trust," slight doubling on Lincoln's profile, and small differences between early and late die states caused by worn equipment. Denver mint cents often show stronger strikes than Philadelphia examples. But both mints produced coins with wide variation, which keeps collectors searching through rolls. Even today, the proof versions from 1964 are especially admired because they represent the mint's attempt to preserve perfection during a chaotic year. These proofs feature deep mirrored surfaces, sharp memorial lines, and crisp Lincoln details, and they were sold to collectors at a time when public interest in coins was growing rapidly, fueled by rumors of disappearing money. The Lincoln Memorial reverse continued to carry symbolic weight as America faced internal struggles over equality and external threats abroad, and the quiet dignity of Lincoln's image served as a reminder of unity, endurance, and moral leadership. Many historians believe that everyday exposure to Lincoln's face on coins helped reinforce national identity during uncertain times, even if subconsciously. The 1964 Lincoln cent also became a common keepsake from the year President Lyndon B. Johnson won election in his own right following Kennedy's death, and many families saved coins dated 1964 as memory pieces representing a year of both mourning and progress. Decades later, these pennies resurface in collections inherited from parents, grandparents, and relatives, often sparking curiosity about their past. While most are worth only face value, their real worth lies in the story. They carry a story of economic fear, massive production, national confidence, and the final era before modern cost-cutting coinage took over. The Lincoln 1 cent of 1964 proves that rarity is not the only measure of importance, because sometimes the most common coins are the ones that best reflect the soul of a nation at a specific moment in time. As the months of 1964 passed, the Lincoln 1 cent continued to circulate through every corner of American life, from busy city streets to quiet rural towns, and because of the massive production, the coin became a symbol of abundance rather than scarcity. Even though the fear of shortage had sparked its creation, the government's strategy slowly worked, and by late 1964, confidence began to return as people saw coins once again filling cash registers, vending machines, and bank drawers. This penny traveled through diners where coffee cost only a few cents, through movie theaters where children bought candy with pocket change, and through factories where workers received pay envelopes that still relied on coins for daily expenses. The Lincoln cent was not just money, it was part of routine and rhythm of life in mid-century America. The physical characteristics of the 1964 cent also tell a story. The thick copper planche gave the coin durability, and many examples survive. Today, with readable dates, despite decades of circulation, the sound of copper pennies clinking together was familiar and reassuring, and their weight gave them a sense of permanence that modern coins lack. The Lincoln Portrait, by Victor David Brenner, remained unchanged. A design choice that emphasized continuity during a time of social upheaval and rapid technological change, the memorial reverse, introduced only 5 years earlier, was still fresh in public memory and connected daily commerce. To national monuments and shared heritage behind the scenes, the mint faced increasing pressure from Congress and the Treasury to modernize operations, improve efficiency, and reduce costs. Yet in 1964, tradition still ruled, and copper cents rolled off presses in staggering numbers. The Denver Mint in particular operated at peak capacity, and many of its cents display bold details, while Philadelphia focused on sheer volume, resulting in subtle differences that collectors study decades later. This year also witnessed growing interest in coin collecting as a hobby. Families watched television programs and read newspaper articles discussing rare coins and valuable dates, and many people believed that saving coins dated 1964 would one day pay off. This belief led to jars filled with pennies often untouched for decades, creating time capsules that surface today when homes are cleaned or estates are settled. These finds often reignite fascination with numismatics, especially for younger generations discovering the weight and feel of older coins for the first time. The 1964 Lincoln cent also represents the last moment before sweeping legislative change. The Coinage Act discussions of the mid-1960s would soon reshape American money, removing silver from circulating coinage and shifting public perception of what coins were made of and how long they would last. Although the penny remained copper for years after 1964, the mindset of abundance and tradition began to fade, replaced by efficiency and cost-cutting measures. Historians often point to this period as the end of an era when coins were valued not just for spending power, but for their metal content and craftsmanship. Culturally, the image of Lincoln on the penny carried deep meaning during the Civil Rights Movement, as his legacy of emancipation and unity echoed through speeches, marches, and legislation. The quiet presence of his face in every pocket served as a daily reminder of unfinished promises and national ideals, making the penny a subtle yet powerful cultural artifact. The 1964 Lincoln 1 cent may never command high prices in average condition, but it holds unmatched narrative value. It witnessed the transformation of American society, economic policy, and cultural identity, all while remaining humble, accessible, and widely used today. When collectors examine these cents, they are not just searching for value. They are touching history, feeling the weight of a year when America responded to fear with overwhelming production, and trusted that even the smallest coin could help hold a nation together.